Now, to make our grape wine, I'm going to be using the following. I have 10 pounds of red table grapes. I would have liked to have used more, but more costs more, and I don't have the money for more, so I'm using 10 pounds of table grapes. Now, to make up some of the difference, I'm going to be using a white grape juice. It's more of a neutral flavored juice, so that I should still get most of the table grape flavors out of the original grapes. I'm going to be using 2 to 3 cups of white granulated sugar. I'm going to be using the juice of a quarter of a lemon. I'm going to be using about a half a teaspoon of active dry yeast. This is optional, but I'm going to be using a couple of straining bags. If you don't have straining bags, don't sweat it. You'll just have to punch down the cap of fruit that's floating on the top of your fermenter once or twice a day. But other than that, you're good. I'm going to be using a wide mouth fermenter. You don't have to use a fancy one like this. Well, that's kind of sort of fancy. It's kind of like in the middle of the road. But if you don't have one of those, you can use a food grade bucket with lid. I'm going to be using a 1 gallon, or in this case, 4-liter jug, demijohn, carboy, take your pick. Because after about a week or so, I'm going to transfer all of the juice that was in our fermenter into our carboy for more longer term fermentation, lasting a couple of months. Of course, it would be helpful if you had a airlock with bung to fit inside the carboy jug demijohn to allow CO2 gases to escape so that you don't have issues with pressure building up. And of course, the same can be said with your original fermenter, although you could use the loose cap method. But it would be helpful if you had an airlock for that one as well. If you don't have an airlock with bung, you can always use a balloon. Personally, I would rather use the loose cap method as opposed to using a balloon, but hey, you use what you got and you're happy you got it, so go for it. Of course, this is optional, but if you want to know just how much alcohol your wine has produced, I'm going to be using a hydrometer with testing tube so that I can measure the amount of sugar that we're starting out with and how much sugar we've got left at the end of the process. So, quick calculation, that tells us how much alcohol we produced. Now, if anything is going to go wrong with your wine, it's probably going to go wrong because you did not properly clean and sanitize all of your equipment. I use StarSan. I'm not an affiliate or anything, although I think there is an Amazon link in my description. But hey, I make sure that all of my stuff has been properly cleaned and once again sanitized so that I don't have any issues. And that is what I'm going to be using to make this wine. All right, first thing we need to do is that we need to destem the grapes. Trying to make sure that you're getting all of the stem off the grapes. Now, since you really don't know what's done what on these grapes while they were growing out there on the vines, maybe it might be a good idea if we just kind of gave them a rinse. Ah, I feel better already. I'm sure there are simpler ways of doing this, but I could get it longer, but I think I can do that. And if I can just get it in the hole, there it goes. If I can slide this one in easy. Nah, there we go. Got it. And I'll just do the same thing for the other one, and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, for this next step, we're going to need like a large 8-quart pot. And the reason for that is that we want to bring our grape juice up to a very low simmer. No, not a rolling boil or anything like that. Just boil it till it gets to a very slow simmer. And the reason for all of that is that we want to do two things. One, we want to kill off any wild yeast that was growing on the grapes. And two, we want to kill off some degree of harmful bacteria that might also be on the grapes as well. Can't get them all, but you can certainly get enough. And since we're only making a 1-gallon batch, and this thing is producing a lot of juice just on its own, see how I can do this without dropping it. Drop in our bags. And this was a bag I did not have to use. I'm going to put that in just for a moment. Don't drain off. But, I mean, got a fair amount of juice here. I'd say about close to 3 cups. I would measure, but, I mean, good enough. And get that in there. And let's turn our heat on. I guess to medium. It don't really matter, however hot it takes to get it up to a low simmer. Although now that I think about it, since I've got one, I'll go ahead and put the lid on. I just need to keep an eye on the temperature. I have an instant read thermometer that I could use, that would alert me to the fact that the temperature's right. But I'm just going to assume that you all might not have one, so we're just going to eyeball this one. Okay, it's been about 15 minutes or so. We can go ahead and turn that off, and we can go ahead and turn that off. And what I want to do now is take 2 cups of sugar to start and get that in there. Easier to dissolve when the water is hot. All right. And like I said, we'll just let that come down to room temperature, probably overnight. All right, it's been overnight, and I decided after our mixture is cooled down to room temperature, I decided to find out just how much juice I actually have to work with. And it turns out that I've got roughly 12 cups of juice to work with. And since I need 16 cups to make a gallon, we're going to add 4 cups of our white grape juice. Now, again, if you don't have it, you can use water. It's not a problem. But I'm just trying to keep it as grapey as possible. So, add our 4 cups. And we're going to go ahead and put everything back in the pot. I could put it in the fermenter, but I'm just going to put everything back in the pot so I can mix it up real well. All right. As far as the bags of grape skins and some other pulp in there, we're going to put those in our fermenter later on. But for the time being, I also want to take a hydrometer reading to find out just how much starting sugar or just how sweet our mixture happens to be at the moment. Now, once again, the purpose of a hydrometer is to determine our starting sugar level. And even though I haven't done a video on using a hydrometer since way back when. Basically, depending on the amount of sugar that is in there, the higher it will float, the more sugar is in the mixture. And one of the scales basically starts at 0.990, which means there's absolutely no sugar in it whatsoever. And then it goes up in terms of sweetness levels. I mean, there are other indicators on here as well, but this is the only one that I actually ever use. So let's find out just how much sugar we got to start with. Everything, of course, has been properly cleaned and sanitized. Okay, it's starting to float already, which basically means that our starting sugar is going to be like 1.100. Not bad, not bad at all. Don't have to add any additional sugar. Now, of course, I've already cleaned and sanitized my fermenter earlier. I'm just going to do it again one last time using my food grade sanitizer. And I'm going to let that sit for about 30 seconds. And when using any of these products, I suggest following the recommended guidelines from the manufacturer, which is not quite how I do it, but just to be on the safe side, do it the way they say doing it. Oh, one other safety tip: anytime you're putting chemicals in a spray bottle, you might want to go ahead and label it so that you know what you're reaching for next time you reach under the counter and you want to spray something on your food. Personally, I would not recommend doing that with this, but um, it always it's always helpful. Now then, this next step, although I would strongly recommend you do this over in the kitchen sink, is to transfer the stuff from our pot into our fermenter. Sometimes I get lucky, sometimes I don't. So let's just do it. Well, mostly lucky. So let's go ahead and put our cap back on for the moment. And I want to add in our lemon juice. Now, our lemon juice is acting as our acid blend to give our wine a little bit of acidity. Normally, I would also use a tea bag. I would boil the tea bag nice and strong and add that, and that would act as our tannin substitute, which would give a little bit of astringency to the wine. But since I forgot to do it and put it on the table of the list of ingredients, I'm not going to do it now. It'll turn out okay. Um, but yeah, we're going to move on. Put it down. Now, I suggest or recommend using a strainer of some sort, however you wish to juice your lemon. And that's just to catch the seeds because we really don't want to ferment any of our seeds. I mean, you don't need to get every last little drop of lemon juice. That's actually more than enough, along with the seeds that it captured. Not bad. Okay, we can actually go ahead and put our straining bags back in our fermenter. Back in? No, putting it in initially. And there's no point in wasting any potential goodness, so we pour that back in there. And for the moment, we can go ahead and put our cap on. Okay, since we initially killed off any wild yeast that might have been growing on the grapes when we did the bringing the temperature up to a simmer in the pot, we can now go ahead and add this is a bread yeast recipe. You can use wine yeast if you got it. I'm going to use, half a teaspoon. It have to be a level teaspoon. Doesn't have to be a mountain of teaspoon. It doesn't really matter. Roughly half a teaspoon. And we're going to go ahead and add that add that to our mixture because it won't become wine until we add in the yeast. All right. Actually, I could just leave it as such, but since I've already sanitized the spoon, I'm just going to go ahead and incorporate it a little bit. Now, if you want to go ahead and bloom your yeast to make sure your yeast is alive and active, please feel free. Usually I have good results just by dumping it in or spreading it around and then going for it like that. So let's put our cap on and let's move on to the next step. Now, as the yeast begins to hydrate, produce, and multiply, consuming all that sugar that's currently in there, along with some oxygen, producing alcohol, it's going to produce an CO2 gas, which needs to be released. Now, this particular fermenter does have its own built-in airlock. Actually, it came with 2 airlocks. As the gas pressure builds up, this little valve will raise up, let the gas out, or failing to use that, actually, let's do this. I don't know if you can see it. And it does release. Failing to do that, pop this out real quick. It also comes with a regular style airlock. And that just simply fits in the hole. We fill it with the necessary water and star sand is what I use. And the gas will come up, go through, bubble out, and I'll let you see the activity that's happening inside your fermenter. I usually use this to start, and then I'll switch over to the regular red knot airlock. We have one more step to do before we put this aside and let it do its thing. Now, just so that we can keep track of our creation, it was generally a good idea to go ahead and label it. And I've got a label here. If I can just get the doggone thing on. Okay, close enough. Making a God Grapes wine, basically grape wine. We started it on this date, and our starting gravity was 1.100. Actually, it's close to 1.002, but close enough. And now we'll just go ahead and set this aside. I'll let the grape skins and remaining pulp ferment for a week, and then I will rack it or transfer it into one of our glass carboys, jug, demijohn, take your pick, and begin the long haul process of letting it ferment, probably a couple of months. And with that, I will say I will see you in a couple of months.